I am a teacher librarian, so I actually don't have classes of my own at the moment to be doing remote learning with. So Pear Deck I'm super familiar with and use tons in the classroom, and I use it as a teacher librarian. But I'm going to be right up front with you. You're going to watch me use this tool in this way for the very first time. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because if this is a tool that you think might be useful for you and your students, you can see how easy or how tricky it is to use. Hopefully you'll see that it's quite simple to get going with, even though it's over like a video conference tool. So I'm sharing my screen with you guys right now. I do have an eye on the chat and another computer. I've also got a back end. So in Pear Deck, I'm projecting what I would normally project onto the whiteboard. So that's what you guys are seeing on my shared screen. There's a teacher dashboard, and I'm going to show you that a little bit later. But just be aware, I also have that open on a different device. You don't need multiple devices. You can simply show the view I'm showing today in your video conference, and that would be plenty and just fine. So if you guys can, this is interactive, so you are welcome to just watch what I do today, but I'd really love for you to experience it as a student. So whether you want to grab your own cell phone so that it's on a different device and you don't have to go back and forth between tabs, or if you'd like to open a separate tab and just be going back and forth so that you can see the presentation but also be participating, because I really would love for you guys to experience this as a student. So you're going to go to the website, it's up here, joinpd.com. And it's going to ask, if you've never used Pear Deck, it's going to ask for permission to access your OCDSB Google account or any other Gmail. And then it's going to ask you for this code, REIJO. And perhaps, Louise, if you're able to put joinpd.com and that code into the chat window, that would be awesome. And just so that once we're off the home screen, then people can still see it. And as new people come in, they might need to know where to access the interactivity part. Hopefully everyone's doing well this morning. It's so weird when everybody's muted to not hear everybody chatting. Morning, Anna Marie. I see you're there. Give everybody a minute to get logged in. If you're having any trouble, ask questions. That's not a problem. And so I'm a math teacher by training. And so I use this a ton with my math students, but I use it in all my classes and even when I'm giving presentations as a teacher librarian. So Pear Deck, I would say, for anybody who's using Google Slides to present information, I would recommend that you also be using Pear Deck. There is no reason to not use Pear Deck if you're already using slides. It just makes it even better and creates that engagement and that interactivity and gets that student voice, which is something we hear about a lot. So it looks like most people are getting in, and the link and the code are on the chat side feature if you're not in yet. And I don't see anybody having a problem getting in. So we'll get started. The code will still be in the top corner. So just a quick note, if you want to chat with me after, you can find me on Twitter and email me from the board, whatever works for you. I'm happy to help you troubleshoot if you want to do a one-on-one Google Hangout afterwards, if any of this goes too fast or you're hitting some roadblocks. Happy to do that after. So I first learned about Pear Deck from a Google Summit from EdTech Team Canada. I think it was like 2014 or 2015. I went to one of their presentations and was just blown away by what the program offered. And so very quickly, I asked if there was a way to sort of pair up with them. Our school board does not pay for premium Pear Deck accounts. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, Pear Deck has a free version and a premium version, and it's super powerful in its free version. It's even more powerful in its paid version. I have a paid version because I'm a Pear Deck certified coach, and I work with their company to help spread the word about Pear Deck. But if I didn't have a premium account, I would still be making very good use of their free version. Now, I'm going to have for you a slide in here that shows you where you can get access to a premium version right now because of COVID-19. Like many software tools, Pear Deck is offering all their premium features for free at this time. So you can access everything that I'm going to show you today, you can access, and I'm going to be really clear throughout what features are free and which features are paid, because that was what frustrated me when I first learned about Pear Deck. They showed me all sorts of cool tools, and there were a couple that were part of a premium package. And I was a bit disappointed off the top to learn that some of them were not in a free version, because as we know, school board money is tight and we don't always pay for all the subscriptions to all the things. So just to get an idea, read the room. So if you are logged into the presentation, you should be able to, where you're logged into Pear Deck, not where you're logged into Google Meets, be able to respond to this slide here. So I'm going to show the responses. So we want to see what your experience is with Pear Deck. So you've got, I'm already using it, seen Pear Deck being used, never seen it, but techie, or perhaps you're not even sure and somebody sent you a link and you clicked on it and you're not sure why you're here. Excellent. All right. So hopefully I don't bore to death those of you that are already using it and know what you're doing. Pear Deck, just to sort of be clear about exactly, so Pear Deck is a website. It requires no app. So the students go to the website like you did today to log in. They don't need a special app. That's what I really like about Pear Deck. The students don't need anything special to join your session on Pear Deck. And for teachers, if you're already using Google Slides, or you can do it with PowerPoint as well, it's really easy to take your slides and put the Google Pear Deck add-on. So it's an add-on extension, well, I guess an add-on, not an extension, in Google Slides. So you actually add it to your Google Slides tools, and then it's there when you're working in slides every time. You usually have to turn it on, but I'll show you what that looks like. So drag your dot. So we've seen a multiple choice question with interactivity. So now you've got to drag a dot to indicate whether you disagree or agree that your students are very engaged during your lessons. So each time I'm collecting these responses, so these are different slide types. We had a multiple choice, now we've got drag a dot. And each time I'm coming down here to click on show or hide responses. And you can see when I do that, it gives me a nice overlay. So I'll show you the different options too. I can see, we can display everybody's answers separately. I can display them, going down the line. It's a little less interesting on this slide. The overlay is one of my favorites because you really get a read for the room. Yeah, so but a mix, right? There, some people have really engaged students, lots of us with some disengaged students, and somewhere in the middle, hit and miss. Excellent. So here's a text-based slide. In a few words, what do you think is the biggest barrier to engagement in your classroom? And I'll let you decide whether you want to answer that for general times or COVID-19 emergency remote teaching times, because that might look really different for you, depending on which one you're thinking about. So you'll notice that all the student responses are anonymous on the screen. And so that's really important. Some of my students are not willing to speak out in class, but because all the responses are here anonymously on the screen, I can hear from every student. On my back end, and I'll show you in a little while, I don't want to confuse you too much right off the top, but on my teacher dashboard, which I've got on a separate screen right now, I can see who's writing what. So I do tell the students that, and that's a premium feature, but I tell the students that, I can see what you're writing. And so if they're writing something inappropriate, I can actually go in and hide their response so the class doesn't see it. And I can go talk to that student. And then Pear Deck just very recently introduced a feedback feature, which is going to be really useful in the remote teaching to send students feedback on their responses. And that's brand new. It's the beta feature that they're testing. Yeah, lots of supplies, curriculum, fear of making mistakes, distracted, connection is difficult, lack of motivation, technology skills. Yeah. Excellent. So lots of good reasons why hormones, I like that. Lots of good reasons why students are perhaps reluctant to engage. And this might be a good, Pear Deck might be a really good medium. You know, we're finding that they don't want to necessarily turn their camera or their microphone on for lots of reasons, that they're just not willing to share that sort of personal part of their life. But I think you're likely to find that they're a lot more willing to type in an answer. And I know we have the chat window in a Google Meet, but it's not anonymous. And so there's something really powerful about a student's ability to have their response show up on the screen and not have their classmates necessarily know that it came from them. You might find there's a bit of you can jump the barrier with that. Excellent. I'm just going to show you here. So one of the things we can do is set a timer. So let's say our students were still typing in their answers and we want to give them a little countdown to make sure that they have a chance to finish up their responses. This is, the timer is useful. What you're going to see is in 15 seconds, it's going to lock the screen. I use this in class all the time to call attention back to me so that they're, you know, looking down at their device, they're typing in, they know they've got this much time to finish up. It's going to actually lock your device, and then that's your prompt to look back up to wherever I'm standing in the room. Or, you know, if they're using two devices to do it on a Google Meet, to get back into the Google Meet for that face-to-face part. So that can be a really useful tool. So you should see on your Pear Deck screen now that you're locked, you can't answer. It's also really useful when you're doing the drag the dot slides, because students and adults alike really like to drag their dot and zoom it around the screen to have people see their dots, you know, scroll around.
Laura, there's a question that I'm not sure I haven't tested it yet. Does read and write work with Pear Deck if they're want to speak their answers in?
Great question. I haven't done it with read and write. It would work with their phones. If they're using a phone, it would work with the native voice to text tool in their phone. But that's a great question about read and write. I can Google that one after and let you know. And if I don't find it on Google, I can ask the Pear Deck folks. They'll be able to tell. If somebody out there has Google Read and Write installed, I'd love for you to try it and tell us if it works. That would be amazing. All right, so give me an idea of, and I believe we've got a drawing slide in this one. What kind of activities do you do in class? So at the bottom of your screen, you should have some tools. You can choose colors. You can do various drawing tools. You can, it even has a little text feature, so you can put text in there. Excellent. I like to see lots of group work. That's awesome. Vocabulary is over here. I won't go into it today because there's just too much to cover in one session, but if vocabulary is something that you have a lot of in your course content, Pear Deck has its own vocabulary tool that you can use that creates a little flashcard system, and they work in pairs. They get paired up through Pear Deck from their different devices, and they create definitions for the different vocabulary terms. They create drawings for those vocabulary terms, and it ends up exporting a little flashcard set into a different app that students can then use to practice all those vocabulary terms. So it's super powerful. If you Google Pear Deck vocabulary tool, you're going to come up with that right away. Awesome. All right. Love to see everybody with all the colors. It's a bright, happy morning. So I probably don't need to preach this to any of you, but obviously we're looking for active learning in terms of just increasing that success that we see in the classroom, reducing the gaps that we can see in the classroom between male and female. But I mean, there are lots of realities in our classroom that means some of our students are participating more or less than others. And what I've really found is the participation and engagement from my students and student voice. Often the responses that I'm sharing, I can sort of pick and choose which responses get put up on the screen from the teacher dashboard. And some of the times the responses that I'm getting that I want to share with the class are not from who you'd expect. And it's really powerful for my students. It's anonymous, but they're so excited when they see their response get shared up on the screen with the class. They're like, oh, that's mine, you know, and it's often our students that would never have spoken up in class without a tool like Pear Deck. So again, you can take any presentation and make it interactive. And what's great too is they have a lot of templates that are really easy to build in. So you don't have to be building everything from scratch from the get-go. And in the teacher dashboard, maybe we'll go take a quick look at that for a second. So I'm going to open up. You guys should be able to see. Ooh, we might have a lot of people, too many tabs open. Hopefully it'll load up here. Just so that you guys can see the teacher dashboard. And yes, okay, there we go. So I'm gonna go back for a second to a slide that we had. Hopefully you guys don't mind if I show off some of your responses. So there we go. So now you can see that names are attached to slides on the teacher dashboard end of things. I can actually star, let's say, 2 different responses. And now you can see in the student presentation what's being projected to the students. Only those 2 responses that I selected are now shown up on the screen. So you can pick and choose which ones to display. You can hide certain responses if they're inappropriate. And this new feature with the feedback so right now we're in a live presentation. You can also do an asynchronous presentation called student paced mode, where the students can go through the Pear Deck at their own pace, at their own time. And so for that, especially when you're not trying to present something live, this feedback feature where you could say, you know, great response, not sure why we're all capsing that, and send feedback. This is brand new. It's actually the first time I try it. And then you can see that the little speech bubble gets grayed in, and that means I've left some feedback for that student, and that student should receive on their device that feedback that I gave. So
Laura,
that's the...
We have 2 questions. One is, can you save that information for later? And is this part of the premium package, or is that free to see the names of the students?
So I'm pretty sure the premium the teacher dashboard, I think, is part of the premium package still. Basically, any of the tools that take a little more work from Pear Deck to make happen tend to be part of the premium package because they take a little more money to fund those features. So yeah, I think it's part of the premium package, but as I said off the top, you can get access to the premium package for now. And anything you create in your premium package will still be accessible to you in your free Pear Deck account afterwards. You just won't be able to create those premium slides, and I'll show you which ones those are. But this you'll always be able to have. We'll come out of here. You'll always be able to have this view here, this student view where the answers are anonymous. You'll always have that. Okay, so you won't always be able to see. Now, after the fact, you can always export all the answers into a spreadsheet, into a Google spreadsheet, and those will come with their logins. So after the presentation's done, you can go back and see who wrote what in the responses in the spreadsheet. It just won't be live at the time, and that's part of the free account. Hopefully that helps with that. All right, so we're going to go back to... So as I've said, you see all the individual answers. Also in the teacher dashboard, I'll see who has not responded. At the very bottom, it will say who has not responded. That's been really handy to me, especially in class. So if a student's like typing away on their phone and they look like they're super into Pear Deck, and then I'm getting nothing on their screen and they're in that bottom list of students that have yet to respond, then I know my students are on something else on their phone. So it's really great for me to be able to walk over and see what that student's doing on their phone and redirect them back to what we're doing in class. So just to show you some examples, we've seen some already of what you can do with the slides. These are some of the prepared slides in Pear Deck. So you may or may not know things about equations. We've all done high school math though. So I'm going to get you to just try these out. So we'll give it kind of a minute, draw or type 2 things you already know about equations.
Laura, while people are writing, Alexandra had a question. How do you export the information that you got from the students in the teacher dashboard?
So at the end of the session, when you're in your Pear Deck, on the Pear Deck website, peardeck.com, there is a tab for your sessions. Let me see if I can show that while people are answering. Let's go to peardeck.com sessions. It's going to take a minute. I do apologize. I live in a rural area, so my internet's not the quickest all the time. So once you have an ended session, and it looks like it's, there we go, we've got some older sessions here. The 3 dots on the side here, you would do export to spreadsheet. And then it's going to open up a spreadsheet with everything, and it saves right to your Google Drive, which is super handy. Takeaways are a premium feature. So takeaways are at the end of a session, and you guys will all get this today, so don't feel like you need to take notes. I should have said that right off the top. My apologies. At the end of the session, you will receive a Google Doc that gets generated automatically by Pear Deck with all of the slides and all of your own personal responses to them side by side. So I really love this for presentations because I can tell people you don't need to take notes on all this unless you really want to, because you're going to get it all in a Google Doc afterwards. The takeaways are really powerful because you can go back in and have students review things, have them write a summary of what they learned that day, you know, and they don't have to worry about the note-taking part. Again, that's a premium feature. It's a bit more, you know, of an onerous task for Pear Deck to perform, but it's super handy. All right, excellent. So that's one of those sort of activating prior learning slides that Pear Deck offers. And you can, it doesn't have to be about equations. Obviously, you can edit that text to be about whatever you want. Here we're soliciting questions. What do you want to know about camping? Another text-based. So far we've seen multiple choice slides. We've seen text slides. We have seen drawing slides and dragging slides. I don't think we've done a number one yet, but I think we have one coming up. So the free version, you can use multiple choice, text, and number-based slides where you can only input a number but no text. In the premium version, you get access to those drawing slides and to the draggable slides. Now, there are drawing slides and draggable slides that are templates from Pear Deck that I'll show you a little bit later that you can add in, that you can access even with a free account. You just can't make your own custom drawing or draggable slides with a free account. However, if somebody else has a paid account and shares a Google Deck with you that has those slides in it, you can present them and use them. You just can't create them yourself or edit them. Excellent. Perfect. So just trying to get an idea here. I feel for this person. When can I go camping? I too want to go camping. All right. I was missing my outdoor ed trips. We were supposed to be on a canoe trip right about now. So it was making me miss my outdoor ed trips. All right, so some of the templates for during the lesson. So this is a number-based slide. So this is the first time we're seeing this one. This is another one of our free slides. So how many kilometers, and don't cheat, I know you're all on your devices, but don't go and ask Google. I want you to make your best estimate. How many kilometers is it to the moon? And so I love this number slide because it creates this chart here that makes it really easy to visualize. So in math, we do a lot of estimating values before we solve a problem, what we think the answer is going to be. And I love to see the range of answers using this tool. And again, we can see individuals, right? And then, excellent. All right. And then often what I do, if I want the response to be available, there's no way to make the response appear on this slide. So I just make a second slide, I duplicate my slide, and I have the answer on the slide. And then I find it really handy to put a multiple choice reflection on the answer slide about their response. So here you can see we're just asking, you know, were you really close? Were you really far off? Did you get it exactly right? So you can see, I used to do a lot of think, pair, share, you know, give everybody a minute to think about it and then, you know, share with a partner, and then we would share to the class. Pear Deck is really doing that. You are giving them the time to think about their response themselves, especially in a live presentation. Each person is getting a chance to think to themselves. Each person then shares their response in Pear Deck, and then through Pear Deck, then we're sharing the responses, as you see right now, to the whole class. So I really like the time it gives students to think for themselves. I often hold off on this show response button at the bottom here for a few minutes or seconds, you know, just to give everybody a chance to think of their response themselves before they start to see everybody else's response on the screen.
Laura, we can stay for another 15 minutes, but since some people might have to go in 2 to 3 minutes, could you show us how to install the add-on and what it looks like in slides?
Yes. All right. So here's our presentation in slides. And so what I would recommend is take a presentation that you are already doing in your class, if you have one, and then up here in add-ons, you can go to get add-ons. I already have the Pear Deck add-on myself, so it won't look quite the same. And so if you choose, so I've already got my Pear Deck here, you can search, right? And it should just come up. And you're going to need to add it in to install it. I've already done so.
If you click add-ons and then choose Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on,
okay. Open. So I'm not sure why. Usually this button should work. So under add-ons, once you've got it installed, you get your Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on and open it. You can see other add-ons that I have here. All right. And then you can see now we have, thank you for that, we've got our bar on the right-hand side here. So you've got everything you would normally have in Google Slides, but now we also have all the Pear Deck special stuff. So the easiest way to get started is this template library here. And so here you can see all the different types. So it tells you what kind of slide it is. It shows you what it looks like. So we can add them in. So click on that slide. Give it a second here and it should. There we go. Add in. And so you can see it's editable. So you've got this template and you can come in here and change this to be whatever the topic is, right? So if we're talking about Pear Deck, you know, we can go in and edit that to be about Pear Deck. What's important here is this bar along the bottom. This bar, I should be able to click on it, never remove it. So that's what makes your slide a interactive Pear Deck slide. So if you go in and remove this sort of, it looks like an image, it even says don't change this link down here. If you remove that, then you remove the interactive feature of that slide, even though the image is still there. So that's the key part there to leave. And you'll see that they add some text down here in your notes for you in your presenter notes. So you've got all these different templates to choose from. You've got beginning of lesson, during lesson, end of lesson. So those exit tickets that are really handy. Some critical thinking. They've got them by subject area. So you can go down here and explore, you know, obviously I'm partial to math. Some prompts that are specific to math. And then if you want to just customize, so let's say you already have a slideshow with all of your content for your course, and then you just like to add in, say, a multiple choice question. Then you would click over here for multiple choice. And it's going to pull up the parameters that you can fill in. You know, yes, no, maybe. And then you click to update slide, and it's going to add that slide in for us. So now I've changed that template to be a multiple choice. So as I said, these features across the top, the text-based slide, the multiple choice, and a number slide, these are all part of the free account. And then the draw and the draggable are a paid account. And they've just started this feature with add audio. So you can leave an audio file that students can listen to. Really handy if you're going to do a student-paced version of this where they can go through everything at their own pace. The website slide is where you can put a link to a website. And for those of you that have the time to stick around, I'm going to show that in a few minutes. And the students can actually scroll up and down the website at their own leisure. So if there's maybe a story you want them to read, you can put the link to the website that has the story. Each student's going to see that on their slide, and they can scroll up and down independently of what you're doing on your presentation slide.
Laura, we have 2 questions. What is, can the language of Pear Deck be set to French? And I'm wondering if your whole device and like your Google environment is set to French, would it just automatically make Pear Deck French like some of the other apps?
Ooh, great question. I would think that it would work in whichever language, but I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
So I'm going to put that on a list of questions to look up.
The other question is, and I'm wondering with this new feature that I'm really looking forward to explore, if you have the students being able to navigate their the slide deck on their own asynchronously, would it be possible to then put that slide deck into a Google site so that they can navigate it on their own?
I don't know if you can embed it per se, like you would a slideshow. You can certainly leave a link to it. So what I'll do is I'll show that now. We can go right there. So if I wanted to right now, I can come down here and turn on student paced mode. So I'm going to do that in front of you guys. So when you turn on student paced mode, you have this link right here. And that link you can put on any website that you like to have your students. So you could put that in your Google Classroom. You could put that on your Google site. You could set it out by email, and then students can go through at their own pace. So I don't know that you can embed it so that they can do it within the site, but you can certainly put that link so they can get to it. So I'm going to click OK, got it. And so now you should see things have hopefully changed on your Pear Deck screen. You should have the ability to move back and forth. So you should have some arrows at the bottom of your screen. And you guys can take a minute to explore going back and forth at your own pace, and you'll see that it's independent of where I am in the presentation. So I'll give you a minute to sort of see what that looks like. People have questions. I'm happy to answer questions. How does Pear Deck work in conjunction with Google Classroom? So in asynchronous learning, I would, Chantal's asking about asynchronous learning and getting it into Google Classroom. I would use that link from the student-paced mode, and I would put it into my Google Classroom with that link. The link is through Pear Deck. So when you're in Google Slides and you press present, you're actually presenting in Google. So the thing you do want to do is when you go to present something that you've created with Pear Deck on it. Oh, I'm turning on my phone's OK Google sensor.
According to Wikipedia,
oh, sorry,
in the broadest definition,
quiet. All right. So when you log into peardeck.com, it's going to come up with all of my files that have Pear Deck associated with them across the bottom. The most recent one will be here. And then I just click on that and it will present with the Pear Deck interactivity features involved. And I think you also have that feature right here. So if you wanted to do from your Google Slides, the key is to make sure that you don't hit the Google Slides present button, but that you come down here into your Pear Deck menu and click the green Pear Deck Start Lesson button. So you have those 2 options. You can start it from the Pear Deck website, or you can start it through Pear Deck. And then once you've turned on your student paced mode, then you can take that link, copy and paste it over into your Google Classroom. Yes, you can collaborate. So Lisa's asking if you can collaborate to build a Pear Deck presentation. Absolutely. So all of that shareability features that you have with a Google Deck, it works with the Google add-on. You would both need to have the Google add-on installed in your Google, the add-on added to your Google Slides in order to see the Pear Deck features. But you can absolutely share with colleagues and edit slides. You can share if you can make one yourself and share it with a colleague and have them use it really, really useful feature. That's what I love about this. So I'm going to stop the student paste mode, which is you'll see snap you back to where I am on the front screen. So we'll just go through a couple more options. Again, so you can see you've got the ability to, we've seen the drawing. What's nice here is that text tool in the drawing slide. All right, and again, I just put an answer slide right after so that people can see. And then again, that answer slide will be in that takeaway document that you're all going to receive at the end. So super handy that the answer key is there. So you only show the answer when you want to in the slideshow, but when they get there, take away those answer keys. So they'll have their initial response and then they'll see the subsequent slide with the answer on it. So here you can see they've got some great templates for the math teachers out there. If you're graphing, you can do some drawing. Don't let the math scare you. You can just draw what you think negative x plus 2 looks like. Got some math teachers out there. That's good. I hope that's not the beginning of a frowny face. All right. So here you've got another drawing slide. So circle the nouns in yellow, circle the verbs in red. Using the colors are really handy ways to get them to do multiple tasks on the same slide, right? And you can build these slides to have anything you want in the background. As I said, they've got the built-in templates that you can edit. But once you get more comfortable, or if you're really adept with Google Slides, you might find it just easier to build your own Google slide and then just layer Pear Deck on top of it. So
Or
drawing lines.
One more question from Melissa. Do you receive student responses if they are in self-paced mode?
Yep. Yeah. So in your teacher dashboard, which you'll have with the premium version that you're getting for free right now, or in the student response, you just wouldn't be able to see who wrote what. But if they're in student paced mode on the presented version, which is what I'm showing you guys now, you would still be able to go through all the slides and hit that show response button, right, to see all of their answers. You just wouldn't see who writes what until you've finished the session, ended it, and then you can export to that spreadsheet to see who wrote what at that point. But you can certainly see how many students are responding and what they're responding when they're in student paced mode. But as I said, you'll all have access for right now to that premium feature of the teacher dashboard, which lets you see who's writing what. And as I mentioned, that feedback feature, that little comment bubble that you can click on to send them feedback. So I'll just quickly show that again. Oh, I guess maybe we logged out of our dashboard. We'll pull that back up in a second. So we did the drag a dot earlier, but I just wanted to show you that they've got little icons you can use as well. So in this one, we say drag the flag to Germany and the boat to Italy. So they've got a little icon to database to choose from. So it doesn't just have to be a dot. And so if we were in student paced mode or live mode, hopefully it's going to pull up my teacher dashboard here. Well, in our teacher dashboard, we would come up with each student's different response, and then that little comment bubble underneath would allow me to leave feedback for each student. And I think that's going to be a really key feature with the student paced mode in the remote learning, to put it into that student paced mode to make it asynchronous, and then to be able to leave feedback on the student responses that is private to each student. So each student gets that feedback. It's going to start to mimic a little bit more what we're seeing in class. Yeah, sorry, my internet's just not holding up with the multiple tabs there.
As we're reaching the end of the workshop, Laura, can you let us know the secret code to get the premium version?
Yeah, let's skip to that slide here. And I'm going to leave this in student paced mode for a little bit after this presentation, because there are some good tutorial slides near the end that you can use. So let's go down to...
Since it'll be in student paced mode, does that mean that people watching the recording would be able to go in as well if we give them the link?
Yeah, actually, Yeah, they can certainly do that. We could leave that open for a couple of days and then send the takeaways after. I just can't send the takeaways, which give them
Oh,
the
okay.
Google Doc with the notes until
I
we
see.
ended the session. But yeah, that's a good idea for, a day or two to leave it in student pace mode so that people can sort of experience it while they're watching the webinar maybe.
Sure.
So here you should have a link that lets you click on, or you should be able to access the website. That lets you, and it's just peardeck.com, I believe, /stay connected or something to that effect. If you Google Pear Deck Stay Connected, it should come up. Hopefully I've got the right one here. Yes. So, oh, quiet Google. Peardeck.com /stay-connected. So you see, if a school board wants to or a school wants to, they can buy a school-based license. So if after this, if in September we're going into remote learning more regularly and your school principal thinks this might be useful, you can request a quote, but instant individual access. So you just have to request it. You're going to press this button here and Pear Deck's going to set you up with a premium account for the remainder of the school year so that you can have access to all of those features. Really easy to set up.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Finding that okay. No
I always
problem.
learn something new at your presentation. I'm really looking forward to exploring the self-paced options.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of information at once. So, and we're jumping back around because there are so many features to show. And lots of people have different questions depending on how comfortable they are using it already. So as I said, I'm going to leave this in student pace mode, and I really invite you to go back and forth through the slides and take a look at everything that's there at your own pace, and then contact me for any questions that you have. There are also really great online tutorials. So if you're in YouTube and you just Google, Pear Deck, you'll see all sorts of tutorials on there.
Fantastic. Thank you.